Have you read it?
Yes.
You've got your fun fact.
I can still read it up here, so yes.
Okay. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, to link to our last episode, Alex has a fun fact.
Just to get everything going. So this week in the veterinary world, so
In Horse and Hound.
In Horse and Hound, that I read.
Let's add credit where credit's due.
Yes, I spotted in Horse and Hound. So last week we spoke about common ailments, and two of them we spoke about were colic and azoturia. We also spoke about the different types of colic. Now, vets have always had problems working out from the outside of the horse whether the colic is really serious and it's twisted gut or a tear, and whether it's going to need surgery.
We had a horse that had a tear. It did not end well.
No.
Continue.
So we also spoke about azoturia, where there's muscle damage. Now, when horses have muscle damage, they have a high level of creatine kinase, which is also known as CK. We're going to use CK.
Is that in the blood?
Easier. Yeah, it's an enzyme that's usually found in the blood, and it's used to evaluate muscle damage.
Yeah.
So it really increases when they have muscle damage due to azoturia. And it kind of, because the muscles are ruptured and it gets into the blood circulation system.
Yeah.
So vets wondered if when they have a tear or a twist in the gut,
whether the same thing happens,
because in the digestive fluid, because there's obviously muscles in the gut wall. So they did a test, and they got 10 healthy horses and 40 colic horses that didn't need surgery and 21 that did need surgery. And they found that there was elevated CK in the horses that needed surgery.
What, so they can just turn up and like blood test your horse and then they'll know if they need to operate or not?
Yeah. It's easily extracted with a fine needle.
That's
fluid.
so easy. Oh, so it's not a blood test, it's a abdominal fluid test.
Yeah,
that's
because obviously
so
the gut
cool.
tears, so it gets in the fluid.
Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah, I was very impressed with that.
Oh, well, from one Fun Fact Friday, even though it's very late for Friday because we got distracted and things happened.
When eventing.
Yeah. Let's move on to today's episode. Alex, what's today's episode of the Pony Pod on?
So today's episode is on travelling.
It isn't on travelling, just because one of us has recently got her HGV, even though she hasn't actually driven. Actually, no, I have driven a horse box for all of 50 metres, and then I got moved again. I tried to put it in reverse instead of it did not go well. Okay, so we'll go through the like absolute basics, and then we'll go through some of the equipment that you need, and we'll end with what you need to do if you want to travel your horse by air, because some of you might want to do it, and we've got Tokyo next year coming up. So just so you all know what's involved in that, because I find it really interesting. So you want to decide what vehicle you're driving in, and you need to have someone with an appropriate license. So if you want to drive a trailer, you have to have your category B and E. B and E? B or E?
Because B is car
and
E is trailer.
Okay, so you have to have both. I mean, I would hope anyone trying to drive a trailer would have their car license for sure. Unless you did your test before 1997. That's it, isn't it?
Yeah, granny.
The
license.
grandfather rule. So basically, if you did your license before that rule came in, you can still drive a trailer because you didn't know that you had to do an extra license. Essentially, that's the reason. And then with a normal car license, you can drive up to 3.5 tons, which are those little van lorries that look like the supermarket vans. If anything higher than 7.5 tons, you need a category 1. No, up to 7.5 tons, you need a category 1. And for anything over 7.5 tons, you need a category C, which is your HGV. But they don't call it an HGV anymore, they call it an LGV because it's a large goods vehicle.
Isn't that your 7.5?
No. So when I... Oh.
That's me. I bet that's the woman from the riding school.
We'll re-record that first bit when you've answered your phone. Maybe we'll leave it in.
I'll call her later.
Okay, so no, they now call anything they call anything over 7.5 tons, it's called an LGV, so it's called a large goods vehicle. Because when I did my theory, on the screen it said like theory test for LGV test, and I had an absolute panic being like, oh my god, mum's put the wrong test, oh my god, this is gonna be so embarrassing. And I like put my hand up and it's like strict test conditions. Like, you're not allowed to talk to anyone, you're not allowed to look at anyone, like everything is strict, and if you want anything you have to put your hand up and then be escorted out and everything. And like the woman came over and she was like, what? And I was like, I'm meant to be doing my HGV, and she was like, that is your HGV, and walked out. And I was like, ah! I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's fine. I'm sorry. And then I went out and she was like, did you panic? I was like, I did panic. I'm sorry.
So you've got the right license. This is a good start. And the next thing you need to do with your vehicle is to do some checks. So the floor is a really important thing to check. A lot of older vehicles have wooden floors. So you need to make sure that you lift the mats up regularly so you can check if it's rotted. And also,
if you're washing it out, so you should be washing, like, you should be keeping the floor clean, obviously. And make sure that it's like, and checking it. But if you are washing it out, you don't want to pressure wash it. Even if you have got an aluminium floor, you don't want to pressure wash it. You want to use a bucket and a the broom. A bucket and a broom. You want to use a bucket and a broom.
Weekend, guys.
It's been a long week. A bucket and a broom, and use as little water as possible, and literally like put some water down, sweep it out, put some water down, sweep it out, because otherwise that water gets into all the nooks and crannies, and it rots the wood and it rusts any metal that it can get to. So like our lorry we used to share with our neighbour, who was lovely and brilliant, apart from every single time she used the lorry, she would get her handyman to pressure wash it out, which when we started using it we had to ask her to stop, because obviously every time she was pressure washing it out there was more and more water that was getting into all the nooks and crannies. And
something else you can do when you wash it out is you can just lift the mats up and leave them up to help the floor dry out.
They're so heavy. You don't realise how heavy rubber mats are until you try to lift them. Then, and not nice underneath. Like,
we started, so lovely Cheryl, who I used to be based with, she had a wooden floor in her lorry, and she used, for bedding in the lorry, she used those wood pellets.
Yeah.
Because then it absorbed the moisture.
Yeah.
So then there was less to go underneath. And what she would do, because she had a horse that was an absolute nightmare for peeing in the lorry as much as he could, and she used to like sweep it out at the end of the day, lift up the mat, put some of the wood pellets down to soak up as much moisture as possible.
That's so smart.
And then like brush it all out and put them back down.
That's so smart. Well done, Cheryl. So another check you want to do is you want to check your tyres. This is part of your HGV test. They ask you what checks you make. And you have to check the tyres for wear. So if any of the tyres are bulging, if you can see any cords, or if they have any cuts on the side. And you also have to check the tread depth. This is if anyone's doing their driving theory, like any driving theory, you have to check tread depth. It has to be 1 millimeter depth across 3/4 of the tyre all the way around, and that is your set thing that you need to learn. And I've learnt it, and I'm going to be using it all the time.
There's a piece of knowledge that now you've learned it, you've got to find a way to use it.
Oh, every conversation. Did you know? Have you checked your tyres for their minimum tread depth? I've got it. And if they have, you want to check that they have all of their wheel nuts on, and if their wheel nuts have markers on, so they're like little arrows, they're all meant to be you have like pairs of arrows which point at each other, and if any of them are slightly off, then it means your wheel nuts are too loose. And you have to tighten them with appropriate equipment to the manufacturer's specification.
Okay, so we're going to you for like a dictionary of how things work.
Everyone can now see how I passed my AH, because if I knew something, I was saying it, and it was being said in the exact terminology that is written in the book. If I didn't know it, that was the other girl's problem.
So just linking back to bedding. It's a good idea to put bedding in because it protects the floor, not only from when they do droppings and they pee in the lorry, but also if they're going to move around a lot, then the rubber matting won't wear down as fast.
That's so smart. And
and it's also comfy for them to stand on.
Yeah, and like we stud up in the lorry, which I feel like a lot of people do. My mum had kittens when I first came back from working in a yard and started doing it, because she thought that it would increase wear on the tendons or whatever. The studs sink really nicely into the rubber, so it does not affect how your horse stands. But if you have bedding, it protects the matting from the studs. So it, bit of both, same thing.
Make sure to check the lights.
Oh, you mean like headlights and indicators?
Yeah. And you need to have a 2-person job. So like your mum needs to sit in the car and put the indicators on, and you need to stand behind and be like...
Or you get her to reverse up to or the driver reverses up to a wall, and you put your indicator on and you look for the reflection on the wall.
Is that something else you learned for your HGV?
Maybe. Yes, it was. It's important information, everyone. That's how you do it.
My mum always used to get me to stand behind the trailer when she hooked it up and be like, left,
Oh,
right,
yeah, to make sure
hazards, brake. And I was like, yes, thumbs up,
Were
thumbs up.
you told? So I remember being told about when I did my B test that when you do your A test, you have to load a horse by yourself, and you have to do everything that you had to do for your B test, but by yourself. So like for B test, you like had to do loading with a helper and like something else with a
I
helper.
didn't load any horses in my B test.
Really? I'm sure we did. I'm sure we had to load one.
Even when I did my C test, it was like, loading is included in this. But they'll just watch you unload the pony and check you're safe and when you
Really?
arrive.
I'm pretty sure we had to load one, and they were like, yeah, when you do your A test, you have to load one. You have to load it by yourself, and they were like, there was a rumour that went around that was like, when you load it by yourself, it's okay to like start walking out the ramp and then throw the rope over its neck and let it walk itself up the ramp while you shut the door, which I don't think is true. So no one do that.
I also want to
But
point
that's
out
what we
that
were
you
told.
probably did your B test before me, so the syllabus might be been different for AH.
Maybe? Yeah, maybe. Oh, when did you do your B test?
Yeah, passed it the year before I did my B+. So that was what, 2012 or 2011?
Okay, you can remember a date, yes, before it's after I did my B test.
Took me a second attempt, so yeah.
No, I did mine like, I was like the youngest, and they were like, we'll see if you pass, and then I did. So they were like, yeah, go for it. Okay, so before you head off, the last thing you want to check is that your towing weight is the right weight, and that or if you have a lorry, that your maximum payload plus the vehicle isn't higher than your maximum authorised mass. That's the acronym I was trying to remember. That's it. Okay. So you want to make sure that your payload plus your vehicle does not exceed your maximum authorised mass. And so that your payload is like the horse, the water, or your equipment if you're staying away and you're taking your shavings and your kit or whatever. You want to make sure that it isn't too heavy for the category of vehicle that you're driving. And similarly, if you're towing, you want to make sure that the weight that the trailer can carry isn't exceeded by your horse and your water and whatever.
Yep. And with your car, you need to make sure that you check how much it can tow.
Yeah.
And because I think it's the combined braking weight or something. There is like a combined thing for trailers, because I know this because my mum looked it up because my friend had quite a large cob and she only ever towed mine to a Welsh Arab cross.
Yeah.
And she's like, will you give me a lift somewhere? And my mum was like,
No.
let me just check if my car... And she's like, I will do it, but we'll have to do 2 trips.
Yeah. Your mum's so cute.
We're going to go to country schooling and she's like, I will take you. But you have to go one at a time.
And it's not, you don't want to get halfway up a hill and then find out that your trailer is too heavy for your car, because it's really, really bad for your car, and also you will just go backwards very fast down the hill being dragged by a trailer, and I wouldn't recommend it. And having not tried it myself, I would not recommend it.
Okay, so to get your horse ready for travelling, there are lots of different equipment. There are many different types of equipment that you can use.
Well, Alex will be going straight to bed after we've gone through this. So we'll start with tail bandages, because you will have all presumably put on a tail bandage at some point. They're used for travelling, and they stop rubbing, and they make your horse's tail lie nice and flat and neat and lovely. Especially if the tail's been pulled, it's the best way to get them to look perfect.
You shouldn't be used for long journeys or kept on overnight, because they can tighten and then they'll restrict the circulation and the tail can fall off.
Yeah, I know someone who, so she was she was my dressage trainer, so she was a professional rider, and she'd gone to Spain, I think, competing, and she told the grooms not to put a tail bandage on, obviously for the drive back. One of the grooms had, and the horse lost its tail from like halfway down its dock. Like they had to amputate the whole bottom half. And because obviously it looked terrible, and you can't, in a dressage test, you need it to look right. So it was so gross. They got the tail of a dead horse that had been like skinned, and they put the skin around the bottom of his tail and like laced it on. So the horse is going around with this big tail, like strapped onto it. Weirdest thing I've ever seen.
So cool!
I saw it I only saw it when it arrived, and it was, you know how the skin like dries, and it was really gross, and they were like, are we gonna have to put neat's foot oil on it, and then we're gonna have to soak its tail in needs for oil so that it was soft enough to wrap round the like horse's dock. Oh, gross. Just horrible.
Ugh.
So yeah, don't put tail bandages on. That's the moral of this story. Don't put tail bandages on for long journeys.
So when you put the tail bandage on, you want to put it round the back
Yeah.
and then leave a little bit sticking up.
Yeah.
It's a bit easier to do in a video when we eventually get on YouTube.
Yeah.
And then you just roll it over the top to keep it tight, all the way
Yeah.
down until, yes, the bottom of the tailbone, and then back up until you've used all the bandage.
Yeah.
And then you want to just like make the tail lie flat with
Yeah.
the horse's bum, because then it's nice and comfy.
And you want to make sure the knot is at the side so that if they lean on their bums, it's not like a pressure point pressing into their tail.
And then you fold over the bandage over the knot so that it doesn't
See,
get
I
caught.
don't do that because I think that creates an extra pressure point. If you're pushing down on the knot, that's another pressure point. So I just leave it out. But I think it's 6-1.
Yeah.
You can use 2 bandages. So you do one all the way to the bottom of the tailbone and then one from just up from there all the way to the bottom of the tail because it helps to keep them clean before a show. That's the only real reason you would do it.
I didn't realise it just took 2, so I always thought people that did that had extremely long tail bandages. And then I started working here and I was like, oh, it's 2! I'd never done it before. I know it's a thing. I always just plaited my tail after the tail bandage.
I love when stuff happens and you're like, oh my god, I'm so thick.
Yeah.
I'm so thick. Undoing tail bandages, that was like my favourite thing in BSIS when they were like, can you put it on and can you take it off? And you were like, of course I can take it off. Whoosh, whoosh. Because all you do is undo the knot and just slide the whole thing straight off, and it's really satisfying to do. If you are doing a long journey and you obviously can't use a tail bandage because you don't want your horse to lose his tail, you can use a tail guard, which are like, I mean, I'm sure you've all seen them, but they're like a padded bit of cotton and then just with Velcro straps that you just strap onto the tail.
Some of them can rub, so you need to be careful. I found the neoprene ones
Yeah.
don't rub as much as
Oh,
the
really?
ones that have the tabs around the back.
Oh, okay. I haven't tried the neoprene ones. I would have imagined the like big padded cotton ones were the best ones, but I feel like they're quite old fashioned now.
Which ones are those?
They're just like I don't
Like squishy with the bits of elastic around the back.
Yeah,
See, we had a horse with one of those when we drove to France,
yeah.
and she rubbed the bottom of her like inside her dock. Yeah.
aw.
And we've got one that like is a neoprene thing, and you slide it under the tail, and
Yeah.
it Velcros on the outside.
Yeah.
And those ones seem not to rub them.
They do seem good, but they are an absolute pain to get on.
Yeah, because they always
I
slip.
hate them. Well, but also like by the time you've got the first bit of Velcro on, the second bit's like half stuck on, and you have to pull it off to get it tight enough. And I don't like it. I'm not a fan.
Another thing for long journeys you could use is a pole guard.
Yeah. Are
They
you
fit on-
yawning again? Do you want to do that again?
Another thing you can use for long journeys is a pole guard. They generally attach to the head collar and they protect the pole, which is the bit in between the horse's ears, the bony lump thing.
They're just like a really hard bit of plastic, basically, aren't they? I haven't seen
No,
any.
we've got one that was a horse arrived here with one, and it's like foam.
Oh, I haven't seen any modern developments. All I've ever seen are the like hard plastic shells that make them look like they have a bowl cut.
No, it's still foam. It's a foam one. It looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
But it's really soft and squishy.
Oh, okay.
It looks like he's
That's
wearing
nice.
a cap.
They can be large or small depending on the horse. Some head collars have like lots of padding there already, and they have to be used if your horse is flying, which we'll come on to later. The next bit is probably the most obvious, which is just travel boots, which everyone has. They prevent injury while you're travelling, and they come in lots of shapes and sizes, but they concentrate protection onto the knees and the hocks. If used for long journeys, they should be refitted and adjusted as they slip down. So for me, you know when people put them on really high up in case they slip, really, really annoys me because the most dangerous part of a journey for your average horse is loading and unloading, because they're going to damage themselves on their coronet band, which is just above the hoof, and it's full of arteries that connect to the hoof, so it bleeds like you wouldn't believe when they cut it. And it annoys me so much when people put them on so high, because it's not protecting the bit that's going to pour with blood when your horse kicks itself.
Also, if you put it on too high, like if you put it on, they're not going to bend their knee on the front leg too high.
No. And it irritates me so much when people do it, and people are like, oh well, they only slip down, and you're like, do them tighter then.
Yes.
When you do your travel boots, they should be as tight as you can physically get them. Like, just don't put them on too high. Stop doing it. It's annoying. Probably only irritates me, but it irritates me so much.
Okay, everyone, don't irritate Tess.
We've had me getting passionate about my fun fact, and now I'm annoyed. Make sure they're at the right place. Do them tight enough so that they don't slip. The only other thing you can really use, and they're quite old fashioned now, are knee and hock boots, which you would use with bandaging. For both of them, you want the top strap to be really tight and the bottom strap to basically just be holding it in the right place, to be really loose, don't you? So they can bend their knee.
Yeah. I've always been told if they've got buckles, it's like there's types you can get on the top, and then the loosest hole for the bottom one.
And that's easy. And the last one,
head collar.
Yeah.
Which probably should be leather, because if it gets caught in anything in the lorry and the horse panics, it will break.
Yeah, you don't want them hanging themselves in the trailer, ideally. Another fun point to go to. So what's your checklist for when you're packing your trailer?
Make sure you've got water.
Yeah.
And even if you think you've got enough water, pack a little bit extra.
Take another canister.
Passport.
Yeah.
It's really important, especially at the moment with all the equine flu.
What are you making sure your passport has in it? Your up-to-date vaccination records.
I took someone to dressage show yesterday, and I literally pulled in to the car park, and someone came and knocked on my door. I was like, "Can I see your passport?" I was like, "I have driven this horse here for someone. They are coming. I don't know where she has packed it, but I know he has one, so she'll come and find you."
Yeah, lots of places won't let you unbox at all. I know some local hunts to us, literally you're not allowed to put the ramp down. You're not, even if like the horse at the back doesn't have its vaccinations up the front, you can't get the ones at the front off. You can't get anything off. Yeah.
Passport.
Yeah.
Your first aid kit.
Obviously.
Spare hay.
Yeah.
I'm always taking spare hay everywhere because my horse is a greedy pig and has eaten her hay net by the time she gets to the event.
Mine literally doesn't. If she's travelling, she won't touch it, and then she gets there and you put the ramp down and she's like, "I'm so hungry."
Grooming kit and a spare lead rope.
They always break them. Always. If you don't have a spare.
What? I had this thing happen at Twitter now on Friday.
Yeah.
So my
horse... them break a lead rope?
No. So my horse is tied to the side of the lorry, and she can be a bit funny anyway, but only if she's near the door.
Yeah.
Like the door isn't out the living.
Yeah.
So, but the horse on board started having an absolute fit because he saw his friend at the bottom of the ramp, and the lorry was starting to wobble, and she was like, "I'm out of here." So she pulled back, and as she broke the string, she's got one of those quick release clips on her head collar.
Yeah.
That undid as well. And so she was just like, "Whoa!" And I was like, "I'm chilling and I'm not attached to anything." And you know my horse.
What a good pony.
She's not the best to catch anyway. And the first time it happened, I was like, and she just stood there and was like, "Okay."
I mean, after having worked at the first like professional event yard I worked at, now I take a spare head collar, at least one. Mm-hmm. If you've got 5 horses, maybe 2, and always at least one spare lead rope, because we had one that you'd tie up on the side, and it might be fine, and it might be fine all day, or you might tie it up, and it might, for whatever reason, just decide to go. And every time, the bale of twine never broke. I don't understand why. It was only this horse. He must have had a special technique for doing it. But every time he snapped either the lead rope or his head collar. And then you're at an event with a horse with no head collar on, and you're just like, oh my god. For anyone who couldn't see my face in that scenario, it was just a flat panic. It's the worst situation to be in. When your rider's got to be on in 5 minutes and you're like, I need to catch the horse.
So, when you've caught your horse, because it's pulled off the lorry, you want to, with your loading, you want to make sure you wear gloves and your hat and sturdy boots. Yeah. Just to protect yourself.
If you have steel toe caps, go for steel toe caps.
You see, they are what's the word I'm looking for? Controversial.
Really?
Yeah, because if a horse stands in your steel toe caps, it can cause more pressure, because once the horse's foot is off, they're not going to be released, are they? Because they'll be bent.
Oh my god! And we were all, like, everyone I know who's ever had to work on like an actual yard has always had to have steel foot toe cap. I don't like them because but
yeah, just be sensible.
Cool. Yeah.
You want to lead the horse a good distance away in a straight line, and then go straight to the trailer or the lorry purposefully in walk up the centre of the ramp, look straight ahead, and just sort of act like you mean business.
Yeah.
Try and stay next to the horse's shoulder, not in front, so you don't drag it. And also if it starts to reverse, you're not going to have any control.
Yeah, if you're dragging it, so if you're in front of it, if the horse starts going backwards, all you can do is follow it down the ramp trying to hold on to it. Whereas if you're by its shoulder, you can flick it behind you, or you can, you know, push it forwards up the ramp. You're in a much stronger position being next to its shoulder than you are being in front of it.
Yeah. You might want to open up the front ramp so your horse can see a way out.
Yeah.
To load. But generally, your body language will make a massive difference to loading. So we've got a horse here that if you are like, come on, we're going on, he's like, okay, fine.
All right.
But if you get a little bit flustered and you're in a hurry, he's like, nope. Nope.
And
nope.
It's the sort of thing, if you mess it up the first time, they know and they will not go on at all. And I have seen someone try and load their horse for a full hour, and then someone else was like, look, I'll try and do it and we'll see. Like, you stand by the side, don't say anything, I'll try once, we'll see how it goes. And she literally like gave it a stern click and up the ramp it went first time. And like, it makes such a difference.
My horse, you can't load if you are in front of her.
Yeah.
Because she has to decide to go on the lorry.
She's such a diva.
Such a princess. So if you get ahead of her, she's like, no. But this is fine, apart from the other day we had to put her right on the back of the lorry.
Yeah.
Like, the last smallest bit. She's like, she's 15 too, she should fit, it's fine. But she, like, stormed up the ramp and then was like, ah, bitch! And she reversed at high speed. And I was like, ah!
Our horses are so different. Mine, you could put her on, like, the other side of the partitions with the ramp closing on her and she'd be like, this is fine. This is where you've put me. Like, she'd be absolutely fine with that.
It took her like a couple of attempts, and then she was like, "Oh, okay, I stand here," and then like squeezed herself in. I was like, "I got this with your leg."
When she understands.
Did the same thing to me when I went to Osberton.
Yeah.
Because I packed all the stuff. I have my little 3.5 ton.
Yeah.
So I packed all the stuff in the partition I'd normally travel her
Yeah.
in, so that if anything happened, I can get her off.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't want to have to unpack stuff.
Yeah.
And then I tried to get her on, and she's like, "There's not enough room." So I had to park the lorry in between two stables.
Yeah.
With where the chute was, get the ramp down, so there's a proper chute, and I had to like lead her on diagonally so she could like get her to work out where she had to stand. And she's like, oh, okay.
What's her show name again?
What a prima donna.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. Good name. Okay, so when you're going on a long journey, we're counting as longer than 12 hours.
Yeah. See, I'll interrupt you again. Sorry.
Go.
My how much I thought of a long journey changed so much
When you started having to drive onto the continent.
Yeah, because so my mum thought that going to Petticoat-Champs was an epic journey, and we had to stop once on the way.
Really?
And yeah, every time. And realistically,
We just cracked straight on.
realistically, Petticoat-Champs is what, like a 4-hour drive, 5-hour drive.
3. It's for us. It's 3.
Oh, okay.
3.5.
Well, we're for 4.
Yeah.
So we're a bit further south than you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like you have to stop on the way because it's a really long journey. They're not used to traveling that much. And then we cracked on to drive to France, and it was like 24 hours.
Yeah. I've remembered a fact. Well, it's kind of a cool fact. So if you are on a long journey with a horse, and if you get stuck in like standstill traffic, which is what happened our first time going to Pony Club Champs, if you're in standstill traffic with a horse on board, you can call the police and say, I'm in standstill traffic and I've got a horse on board, and they will come and escort you off the main carriageway so that you can get the horses off.
But it depends how long you've been stuck in the traffic and what
Really?
your horse is doing. Yeah.
See, I thought it was just like blanket, they'll get you off. It's fine. And like if you have a blowout, so like a tyre puncture or something in a horse box, and you have to pull over onto the side of the motorway, the first thing you should do before you call the breakdown service is call the police, because they have to come, they have to stop, like close off the lane so they get away from you because you have livestock on board and it's dangerous.
Yeah, so I've done that. I've
Us
closed
too.
the air before.
So have we.
Oh, cool.
Coming here. We had a blowout and we were only like a junction away, but we closed the entire M4, and I put it on my Snapchat story or something, and one of my friends was like, I'm stuck in that traffic jam. And I was like, sorry. The worst is they reopened the furthest 2 right lanes, and they had a sign on the overhead gantry saying slow moving large load in the it's like slow moving large load, and I was like, say that to my face.
No, I remember we had to close it because we had my lorry died, properly died, and my mum, by my brother, and chatting to me, and was like, so what's that sound interruption? She's like, she closed the M4 this week, like it was a proper life mission.
It's exciting. But that is like, so if you do break down or anything, and even if you're on the hard shoulder and you're off the road, first thing you need to do is call the police, so the police can either like make the road safe for you to sort the horses out, or they can get you off and they will give you a police escort. Like they escorted us from Membry Services all the way to here because we had like enough wheels that we could limp our way through at 10 miles an hour. The other thing is, so if you're on a long journey, it's really important to make sure you make their feed wetter than normal, because you really need to get that fluid into them, and make sure you offer them water every 2 hours. Even if they're not going to drink it, make sure you offer it to them.
You can also, what we did was we had water containers.
Yeah.
We were in a lorry.
When it has the trough in the thing, no?
No.
Oh,
No,
continue.
what I was going to say is we have a big tank in the lorry.
Yeah.
But we were like, we're not going to fill that up, because if you've got water containers,
Yeah.
A, it's good for the weight, and B, you can access it while you're on
Yeah.
the move, because obviously you can't take
Yeah.
the tank.
No, I went to Italy with this show jumper, and on the top of their tack locker, it had like a ridge around the top, which I saw and was like, that's so stupid. That means that all the hay's going to get in there. It's going to be a pig to clear out. But it meant while they were driving, like as we were going, they just got a container, poured it into the thing, and it made a trough, and all the horses could drink.
Oh!
Blew my mind.
That's so clever.
Isn't it? It was the sort of thing I was like, this is amazing. Like, what the future is now, people. Amazing.
So when you stop them on your journey, you want to make sure that when you do, it's like a services that's quite safe
Yeah.
and that's far enough away from the road. But you want to stop them, walk them for at least 30 minutes and get their head down so they can like breathe and cough any mucus
Yeah.
and stuff.
Otherwise they get travelling flu. I learned that from a judge at Nationals as we were chatting about it, because someone had been travelling her horse and hadn't done it, and it got flu, and it like was like nearly dead, and it was a big long dramatic story which I can't remember, but make sure they cough up all the mucus.
But we had so this is my favourite thing. I've only ever been overseas once, and I was driving, so it was really cool. So we stopped.
Then we will have to crack on.
Sorry. So we stopped 4 services in total.
Yeah.
On our epic road trip there and back. 3 of them were in France.
Yeah.
1 was in the UK, and just as we got off the ferry in
Yeah.
Dover, we pulled in
Yeah.
to where the lorries were, we got the ramp down, we were walking the horses around, and this guy comes driving in. Guys looking after services, being like, you have to get them back on the lorry. And we were like, what?
Why?
And he was like, you can't, it's too close to the motorway here, you have to get them back on, it's unsafe. What if a lorry comes around that corner and they'll hit one of your horses? And we were
Is
like,
that not our
we
problem?
were like, yeah, but we've decided to get them. He was like, no, you have to get them back on. And they'd literally been off for 5 minutes, and they'd been on that lorry
Yeah.
since their previous break for like
Yeah.
6 hours. And we
Yeah.
were like, oh, ponies. But yeah, he was adamant. He was like, I'm not leaving until you get these horses back
Oh
on.
my
And we had another 5 hours driving till we got back to the yard.
People are weird, man.
Right, sorry.
So if you're on a ferry going to the continent or going to Ireland, you want to get the ramp down to increase airflow through the lorry, but you won't be allowed to stay with the horses, but if they normally stand happily on the lorry, then they'll be fine. Because it's just like normal travelling.
On to
okay.
air travel, which is what we've been looking forward
This
to.
is
and
our final section, I promise. Anyone who's still listening after it's been like half an hour already. Okay, so air travel has the least effect on your horse's fitness, which is really lucky because it's how they get to the World Equestrian Games and the Olympics and stuff. So what you do is you load the horses onto a crate, and then the crate is lifted by forklift truck or whatever into the plane, and that's how they travel. Once they're
actually in the air, they're usually quite happy because it's kind of not really moving that much, and it's quite chilled, and they have hay, and they have their person,
and they've got a buddy.
Yeah, but it's only really during unloading and loading that they'll be unsettled because there's quite a lot of noise. Like they'll be lifted up and down by a forklift truck, and like beep 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 beep, and things driving around, and airplanes taking off.
Big airplane right there.
Yeah. But when they're travelling, they're never left on their own. They always have a groom with them.
And it's a special, like, it has to be a specially qualified groom, and they have to have a vet with them.
But it's only 1 groom per crate.
Oh, okay.
So
That's not too
when Vittoria Panazon
Yeah.
used to teach a girl in our pony club, and she came to talk about going to the Beijing Olympics at our pony club camp, and she said when her horse went, it was like toss a coin between which groom for which horse in the crate got to go. She made up little brown mashes for her horse, but it wasn't her groom that got to go. So he didn't get any of his brown mashes.
no.
She got there and she's like, I hope you're still alive.
So Pedon's Bloodstock are the agency which do most of the air freight for horses for the Equestrian Games. They've got a really, really helpful video which we'll share after this is released so that you can all see the process that happens and what's involved, and they're really interesting. Look out for that. I've got it's not a very fun fact, it's quite an interesting fact. I think it's really interesting. So they have to have a specially trained groom who goes with them, obviously, and they have to have a vet, and that's because if a horse starts to panic mid-flight, there's obviously nothing they can do. Like, they can't get it off, they can't keep it on, and it's a danger to the other horse as well as to the groom. So the groom has to sign like a disclaimer saying that if the horse starts to panic and they can't calm it down, the groom is responsible for making the decision to put the horse to sleep on the plane. and that's completely legal. Like the groom can make that decision. So the riders and the owners can't be contacted because they're like on a plane. So the riders and the owners literally put their horses onto that plane, like, I hope I see you on the other side, and they have no control over it at all, which is, I just think it's the most terrifying thing, but I think it's a really cool fact, and I don't know why I think it's really cool, but I think it's really cool.
I have another cool fact about air travel.
Go.
So if you are importing a horse, say
Yeah.
you've disappeared off to America or Australia to buy a horse and bring it in, it costs a different amount to import them if it's a stallion, a mare, or a gelding.
Why?
So stallions, because they can't really share a crate with another horse.
Yeah.
So that's obviously more expensive,
Yeah.
and they get hit with breeding tax.
Yeah.
Because they're breeding stock, they can be like transferred around. And then mares are the next cheapest because they
Can
obviously
travel with other things, yeah.
but they also get hit with breeding tax. Whereas geldings are the cheapest
Super
because
cheap.
they can't breed and they're pretty chill to go with any mate that goes with them, and they're just generally quite happy about life. So
That's
yeah, if
so
you're going to
easy.
import horses,
You want
so
a gelding.
I found this out from Maddie actually,
Yeah.
because she bought some horses from Australia, and everyone
Yeah.
was like, buy geldings because it's so much cheaper. And she was like, I'm bringing your mare over.
Just to be that one. Okay, well, that's everything we have. Thanks for hopefully still being listening, because I think we have been going for longer than normal.
I feel like the more podcasts we do, the more we start chatting.
And they're going to
get
be longer and
distracted.
longer and longer and longer. I hope you enjoyed our fun stories. Good. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed them. Please tune in. We're going to be... Who are we interviewing next?
Kelly.
Again. So we did interview Kelly a few weeks ago, and then...
Someone deleted the interview.
in the same panicked clear out of my phone that got rid of the first non-horsey parent podcast episode, I deleted the interview, and I will be flogging myself regularly until we've
But
redone
because
it.
Kelly is a lovely person, she has
She
agreed
is.
to redo the interview next time when she's down near us.
I think it will be good. I think it'll be better to do it again. That's what I keep telling myself to make myself feel better. It'll be better. Yeah, it's fine. All right.
So
Thanks.
yeah, tune in next time to
Yeah.
listen to a fully qualified saddler.
Bespoke bridal me. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what else slipped by us that we didn't realise? We've been out for a month.
Have we?
Yeah.
A whole month?
Had our whole month anniversary yesterday.
Wow.
I know. So keep your eyes peeled for a little competition that's going to be on our Instagram page. We're sorry it's been so empty. It's been a very busy week. We'll go into that later. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.